I'm a big fan of the waste sector, actually. There's a lot of opportunities. We can live a lot more efficiently, I think. So like I said before, Ursula is not here with us tonight, but I'm going to pinch hit with her for her for a little bit. Just go over briefly what the mixing bowl is. So full disclosure, I'm kind of a founding team member of the Mixing Bowl, and I've been working as an outside advisor for them, so I guess I'm at least marginally qualified to talk about it. So the Mixing Bowl was it was founded last year by a guy named Rob Trice, who's actually started his career doing US-Japan stuff. He brought, among other things, brought DirecTV to Japan. And partnered with Mitsubishi Corporation to do that. Yay! But then he spent a career as a corporate VC in the telecom space, and that's where he met Ursula Osterli, who's the VP of Innovation at Swisscom. And together they collectively became very bored with telecom. And so they were looking for another sleepy vertical that you could leverage IT within and kind of kickstart a little bit. And Rob's wife worked at Stanford at the Woods Institute for Sustainability, which some of you might know, which is bankrolled by a guy named Tom Steyer, who's the founding partner of Farallon Capital. And he owns a ranch called the Tomcat Ranch in Pescadero. And Christine knows it well, but Tomcat Ranch is a grass-fed cattle ranch, but it's also a research ranch. And so Rob kind of got interested in the ag space through that affiliation. There we go. And so he had the idea to create the Mixing Bowl, which in short is basically, we've been called many things, but an aggregator, a connector, an accelerator. Let's see. Basically the idea here is, so I'm going to jump around a little bit, is to create innovative, profitable, and scalable food and ag businesses through connection and collaboration with the IT industry. So the opportunity that was identified was the fact that food and ag, being a critical space, still didn't have a real solid connection to the valley here. And so kind of one of the lofty ambitions of the Mixing Bowl is to kind of create that connective tissue between the relative strength of Silicon Valley as an IT digital kind of place with the agricultural production regions of the world. So going back a little bit, just to overview kind of, maybe some of you are interested, but there's been a lot of recent venture activity in the food and ag space, and some of this is driven on strictly the food side, what we call the last mile delivery. So a lot of you know about platforms like Blue Apron or Plated or Good Eggs or these kind of platforms that are bringing prepared food or groceries to your door utilizing an IT platform. But a lot of it has also been on the ag side. So last year you had the Monsanto acquisition of the Climate Corporation, which was started by a bunch of Googlers. That was a $1.1 billion acquisition. Monsanto's been very, very active in the space. Kleiner Perkins, Khosla, Andreessen, all the big name brand VCs are now just kind of slowly pivoting their clean tech funds into the ag and food space. They're calling it, a lot of them are calling it resource something, I don't know. But there's been a lot of venture activity. In fact, the food and ag space as a venture investment category is the fastest year-over-year growing venture category in the space right now. It's still relatively small in overall invested capital. But so basically what we're doing in the Mixing Bowl, we have three kind of nodes within the Mixing Bowl. There's a Mixing Bowl forum, which includes our website, a lot of information exchange online, but also toss-up events, meetups, and conferences. We had our first big conference this past June at Stanford. There's a slide coming up. There's about 365 people showed up to that from all over the world. We had some of these guys pitch there as well. Another thing is the Food Geeks Travel, which is kind of taking a nod from Dave McClure and his Geeks on a Plane. So the idea here is to load up buses and planes with folks who are interested in the space and taking them to on location. The logic there being that if kids here in the valley who are coding and making the next best social app can actually see the problems that exist on the farm, in real time and kind of touch, see, smell, feel, that they'll be able to maybe be motivated into that space and create the next big solution there. The Mixing Goal Accelerator, so this is basically a landing pad for both startups and corporates. The goal here is not to make money off of startups. The goal is to help startups get the first revenues, get the connections, channel partners in the corporate space, et cetera, et cetera. And for the corporates, it's to help them extend their reach in technology scouting, specifically in this space, here in the Valley and elsewhere. And then the Mixing Bowl Angels, this is kind of Rob's little angel group. They're making pretty active seed investments in some people in this room even. And the idea there is again, it's not to get rich. It's to really accelerate the space and kind of help get some of these companies up and running so that we can really affect how the food system works. So here's our first conference, 365 attendees. We had, Cisco with an S, Cisco with a C. We had Google's food guru, Michelle Backer. We had a handful of startups. We had about 23 farms represented. We had people all up and down the value chain. It was really it was a great event. Food Geeks Travel. So here's the most recent Food Geeks Travel. We went down to Salinas Valley. We visited Nunez Foxy Produce. This is a Portuguese family-owned business, 5th generation family farm down in Salinas. They're one of the bigger lettuce producers. We went to Parizo Winery, which is a small family-owned winery down there. Driscoll Berries, which might have been the company you were referring to before. I don't know. Big berry producer down there, and Taylor Farms, which I mentioned previously. Taylor is quite exceptional. They have an incredible internal R&D program. And then the next Food Geeks Travel, Rob is going to take a group of folks to the Netherlands Food Valley Expo. If you guys don't know it, the Dutch, because they live underwater, but they're also a huge agricultural production country, one of the biggest in the world, they're extremely innovative in the ag space. And so they have their Food Valley, which Mixing Bowl will participate in, representing Silicon Valley. As far as physical space is concerned, there's office space in the Dogpatch neighborhood of San Francisco, but this is the space that the group is really, really excited about. How many of you have been on Treasure Island? So on Treasure Island, this is a formal naval base, and so they have a bunch of these big hangars that used to house these boat planes and other planes there on Treasure Island. And the city of San Francisco leased one of these hangars to this guy named Timothy Childs, who has a varied background, but most recently, he started Cho Chocolate, which some of you might be familiar with. Has a very vested interest in the food space and sustainability. And some of you might remember there was this barge owned by this company called Google up by Treasure Island that didn't really go anywhere. And so Timothy Childs bought it for about 10 cents on the dollar. And so all the shipping containers that were on that barge are now being converted. And you can see in this image here, converted into these wet labs and test kitchens. And so we'll have a full kind of food innovation infrastructure built out within those hangars. And these are modular systems, so if the city ever decides to kick us out, we can just move them. So that'll be, Google is actually partnering on that, and then Timothy Childs has a new food brand. He'll be doing his own Willy Wonka magic inside of there, and then Mixing Bowl will also have that accessible to the startups that they work with. Another site in Pescadero, this would be more for distribution, direct ag kind of plays. So basically that's Mixing Bowl.